It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.
All right, we are live. Welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is attempt number 2. I just went live maybe 10 minutes ago, and I had a pretty solid connection. And then, of course, the second I hit, go live, it gets all choppy on me. So let me just make sure we're actually definitely good to go here. I'm going to quickly refresh this so I can get your comments up here right in front of me live so I can go through that with you. There we are. Way better, says Brighton. Thank you. Good evening, John Fletcher from the UK. Good to see you here. You're back. Good connection. Yes, we are doing much better now. Looking good, sounding good. Okay, good. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we're going to be covering some of the, obviously there's some crazy stuff going on in the news. You got what's happening in the stabbing in Canada. I mean, this is obviously the biggest that Saskatchewan has ever faced, I believe, in the history of there. And 11 people dead, one guy still on the run. And, I couldn't help but have to chime in yesterday on Twitter with this. If only knives were banned, this evil would never happen in Canada. Am I right? That doesn't sound stupid, does it? Knife control now. Instead of steak, just have ground meat. Put the utensils down, please, for the sake of the children. Obviously, I'm being a little cheeky there, but obviously, it's interesting that normally with these types of events, the Prime Minister is all over it. Not just one little tiny podium 2-minute speech, but, jumping all over the gun control debate. Well, this doesn't play into that narrative, so we're not hearing about that right now. Here's something that's really crazy that's going on that I need to show you guys as well. Outcry as Chinese lockdown traps residents during earthquake. You may recall from my video yesterday, I showed you how 65 million people are currently locked down. 21 million in particular are physically locked into their residence. And in that area where they're on lockdown, they just had an earthquake and they weren't letting the people out. It's absolutely just horrific. Let me just make sure I'm still on the right screen here. Okay, we're good. Yeah, like there's videos coming out. I guess this is Chinese TikTok or something, but like here's the types of videos that are coming out. Like these people are. Oh, it won't play now. Interesting. Oh, you know what? This is China. It's probably being banned. Yeah, it won't play now. But this earlier was showing a whole group of people. Here's the photo. You can see it. They're panicked there, and they're saying, let us out, let us out. They're caged into their residence, and the security guard's saying, relax, the earthquake's already over. And they're all, saying, like, forget the lockdowns. Like, let us out. We're going to die. It's just absolutely crazy. So, again, I always like to point out that we have to pay attention to what's happening in China because it is often a blueprint for things to soon come here in the West. They kind of test it out there first. So that is pretty crazy to see. In other news, you got Trudeau completely trying to hiding behind the national security will erode trust in the Emergencies Act inquiry. When it comes to the judgment of whether the Trudeau government abused its emergency powers, justice must not only be done, it must also be seen to be done. So obviously there's a pretty big debate going on right now in regards to whether or not, oh, this isn't working now. Okay, that's fine. We're just going to stay on that screen. I can't full screen it for some reason, so we'll just stay here. But that's okay. So yeah, obviously the Emergencies Act was invoked so that they could clamp down on all these very, very legitimate protesters, and now they're trying to, shy away from what actually happened there. Today, obviously, a lot of kids are going back to school everywhere, all over the world, and that does include the Uvalde kids, who today are refusing to go to classrooms, guarded, in quotes, by coward cops who let their friends die. Yeah, I mean, it really should come as no surprise. And the school has tried to assure them that we've upped the police presence, we've given them more gear, we've given, there's more cops there now. But why does that matter when there was already like 100 of them standing around in the hall doing nothing? And they're already, completely armed and have everything they need. They don't need more. They just need some bravery. And perhaps in a little bit of good news, if it's ever possible for good news to come out of the Catholic Church, we see here hundreds of Australian schools are told not to assist in efforts to help children transition genders. I mean, this is great. Hundreds of Australian schools will be told to discourage students experiencing feelings of gender incongruence from undergoing gender-affirming surgery. Educators and staffs at more than 1,700 Catholic schools all across Australia will be advised that for the majority of children, the feeling that their biological sex and their gender identity is mismatched is a psychological condition. New advice is to be discussed at the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference, which will ask teachers to refrain from encouraging use of puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and gender-affirming surgery. I mean, that's just fantastic news on its own right there. So it's too bad that I can't go to my other screen that I want to go to now, because if I want to read your comments, it's going to be some weird double loop. Actually, I can pull it up on my phone. Just bear with me, guys. I'm going to pull up this stream on my phone so that I can monitor the comments live there. Because, of course, everything's going all wonky right now. Okay, so let me just get this going. Bear with me. Okay, I got your comments pulled up here now so I can actually look at this live in real time. Banned butt stocks on jackknives. Full-on family feud in Saskatchewan started months ago. Retaliation and revenge events. Yes, I have heard that the police were aware of this particular individual for a couple of months. He's been on the radar, and yes, as I understand it, there are issues with drugs and alcohol that his family members have said led him to just completely lose his mind. His brother is already being found dead, and they do believe that the wounds are not self-inflicted. So he was probably killed by his brother, who's still currently on the large. But yeah, pretty wild stuff. Banned politicians, says Escape the Matrix. Let's see if we got any questions. I don't buy this story. I was in Regina, didn't notice many cops around at all, didn't see any RCMP cars on the highway. Well, the thing about that area is it's so widespread and rural. A lot of the cops are kind of talking about how their jobs are difficult to find a man in those kinds of conditions. He's just hiding out in the bush somewhere. I think they believe he's still in Regina right now. Let me see if I got any of your questions here. No knife zones, says Mitch Connor. Yeah, exactly. They'll be coming for the knives before we know it. Funny enough, I like this guy, Lord Christopher Monkton. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but one time, me and my friend Josh Sigurdsson were hanging out with Lord Monkton, and the topic of knife control came up, and to our amazement, he was completely all for it. He was like, yeah, knives should be banned in the UK. And we had a very, very interesting discussion about that. But yeah, there are some people who actually believe that. So yeah, pretty wild. Let me check your comments again, quickly refresh this. And I'm not going to go for super long today, guys, because I was already supposed to be done a little while ago. But, I mean, my connection was pretty solid out there. And then, of course, as soon as I start to go, it starts getting all choppy. So this is second time around. Is the imposter Sean Hotkins? Not sure what you're talking about there. Knowing the Truth says fake news. Dan called this. He said something was coming. Jesus Christ bless you, Dan. Support this work if you can, says Sharif. Thank you so much for that, guys. Really appreciate it. I was standing next to you at the trucker rally in Ottawa when the cops pushed you, says Jack Wright. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm actually still, unfortunately, dealing with that. Uh-oh. Hang on. Something just happened. I just hit something accidentally on my computer. Are we still good? Are we still good? Yes, I think we are. Okay. Hopefully I didn't just stop the stream. I think we're still good. Let me just make sure we're still going. Sorry guys, having some odd technical issues today. Yeah, we're still good. Okay. At Press for Truth, fun fact, I made that thumbnail. Yes, you did. That's right. I haven't used this one for a live broadcast in a while, but I was out, as you saw, in the mountains of BC out there. It's actually called the Chief. Trying to throw together a live stream, so I grabbed that one, and it is a good one. I still use it to this day. Very nice. I yelled, "Don't touch him," to the cops. Thank you, Jake. Yeah, as I was saying, I'm unfortunately still dealing with that. My ribs, they still hurt sometimes. In the morning when I get up just from sleeping on my side, and also when I drive, just where the seatbelt kind of meets the chair, it's right where they jabbed me. And what a crazy thing to do, that cop. Like, obviously he put so much force into that, just thrusting the baton directly straight into my ribs. That was just brutal. But I believe there is some sort of, obviously, well, there's an inquiry going on, but it's for the people of the city of Ottawa who are upset with everything. But this is something that warrants being looked at. Get a load of this. Half a year has gone by since the Trudeau government took the unprecedented step of invoking the Emergencies Act to deal with protesters in Ottawa and at several border crossings. Yet, the question of whether this was an appropriate and measured use of emergency powers or an unconstitutional power grab seems no closer to being answered, and likely won't be so long as Ottawa continues to hide behind its veil of secrecy. At both the Special Joint Committee on the Declaration of Emergency and in federal court, the government has repeatedly invoked cabinet confidentiality to withhold the information that the Incident Response Group, or the IRG, allegedly relied on to conclude that the Freedom Convoy was a threat to the security of Canada linked to ideologically motivated violent extremism, which is the essential precondition for the lawful use of emergency powers. So they had to convince everyone that this was the case. There was an ideologically motivated violent extremism. So they needed that in order to be able to do this. But it continues. Check this out. If the IRG had no reasonable basis for concluding that a threat of this nature existed, the government expanded its own powers contrary to both law and the Constitution. This would be the most serious assault on the rule of law imaginable, yet it increasingly appears as though the government's conclusion had been tenuous at best. Public Safety Minister Medicino, I don't know how you say that, has stated repeatedly that the police requested the invocation of the Emergencies Act, only to be contradicted with sworn testimony from every police service on the scene. Remember that? They're like, yeah, no, we did not do that. Why are you saying that? That's not true. Later, it was revealed that the federal government declared an emergency despite being told of a possible breakthrough in talks between the city of Ottawa and the convoy organizers the day before. That deal would have seen many, if not all, of the truckers leaving residential areas. Since the Windsor, Ontario and the Coutts blockades had already been lifted, this might have catalyzed a peaceful end to the protest. But despite these revelations, what we might never know looms large over what has come to light, as numerous documents pertaining to the government's decision that were ordered released by the federal court have been so heavily redacted, they now resemble black rectangles with page numbers. the the level of cover-ups to what they did there to us, the not a small fringe element of society, but a large portion of the Canadian people, completely had our rights absolutely obliterated and violated. I don't know if you haven't seen my over 7 hour live stream, go ahead, go back and check it out, guys. It's from February 19th, I believe was the day, and it's action packed throughout the whole entire thing. It was so intense to be there. That's one of the most intense live streams I've ever done. Not one of it. It's by far the most intense live stream I've ever done. And it obviously culminated into this climax of, us all just being completely battered and bashed by the police. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, obviously, we still want justice for this. Now, will that ever be done? Maybe. Because, you remember when we were calling for a public inquiry into the grave injustices that happened at the G20 summit? Well, that was like 12 years ago, and it took over 10 years for a class action lawsuit to eventually award every single person who was arrested. $16 million was awarded in this class action lawsuit to everybody who was arrested. Everybody got anywhere up from $5,000 to, I think, $50,000 for some people. So to say that what happened in Ottawa is just always going to be kind of under the wraps and hidden, not necessarily. It's still possible that justice will be served, not to the extent of Trudeau going to jail or anything like that. But certainly, I don't think, anybody's going to just let this go away anytime soon. Let me check back on your comments real quick here, guys, and let's see if we got anything new going on that I've missed. That was horrific what they did to you and the others last February, says Karen Burns. I know, it really was. It was kind of remarkable that I managed to get there in time. I had to drive 6 days across the whole country because I'm not allowed to get on an airplane and fly domestically within this country. That's just how bad things were, and yeah, hopped in a car, drove there for 6 days just to get there just in the nick of time to cover that massive clampdown on everybody. So I was glad to be able to do that. Let's see. Dan, have you seen either a chiropractor or an osteopath for your ribs? You most likely are quite disaligned from the force. No, I haven't actually seen anybody. I probably should have, but not really interested in going into hospitals these days, if you know what I mean. And honestly, what are they going to do for me really, other than just say kind of, rest, take it easy, it's going to take time. From what I've told, rib injuries can last like, 6 months to a year or more. So unfortunately, I think I'm just going to have to ride it out, but I appreciate your concern, Cheryl. Let's see. It's all about divide and conquer, says I can see. Yep, big time. 7 hours is the question. Yes, over 7.5 hours live stream I did, walking around outside in the freezing cold in Ottawa, following the Freedom Convoy protesters, and then filming the clampdown. How about the Supreme Court case in America? They denied someone a job as a police officer because of high IQ. I haven't heard of that recent one, but I remember hearing about that years ago, that certain people were not being given the position because they scored too high on their IQ tests. And that goes to tell you a lot about the police force. They want a certain type of individual working for them who can be very, very easily, manipulated into doing things that maybe somebody of a higher IQ might not necessarily do. Heard Dan make a speech one time. Good dude, says St. Patrick. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've done a bunch of speeches over the years, but not sure where you might have seen me. Most cops love inflicting pain, says Escape the Matrix. My cousin was a brutal cop. He also grew up with a brutal, abusive father. Imagine that. Yeah, well, a lot of times as you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I have a friend whose father is a retired police officer, and he told us straight up that he was told when he was a young police officer, if you want to get anywhere within the force, you want to make it up to the chief or anything like that, you have to be a Freemason. If you are not a Freemason, you are just simply not going to rise in the ranks of the police force in Canada. And he was told that when he was a young, new on the academy, and he had a choice. You can either go to, I think it was called like Durham region or Peel region or something like that. And he says, if you're not interested in becoming a Freemason, if you go over here to Durham or whatever, yeah, you'll do fine. But if you go to Peel, you have to be a Freemason, or you're just never going to get anywhere. Very, very interesting. He told us that very openly. He was, a retired police officer saying, when I was young, that's what they told me. And yeah, that is how it is. All right, let me go back to your comments. And just in case you're just tuning in, real quickly, we talked a little bit about that crazy stabbing spree that happened. The man is still on the run, and obviously knives are obviously not the issue here. It's psychological. It's drug and alcohol related. This is absolutely just insane. This earthquake that just happened in China, where the people are, footage is showing them locked down in their apartments and not being allowed to flee the compound because of COVID lockdowns. This has sparked anger and disbelief online. Some in Chengdu said they were told to stay inside through a 6.6 magnitude earthquake on Monday that killed 65 people. Those that ran out say they found the exits were shut due to COVID restrictions. This is a place that's home to 21 million people who are all on strict lockdown rules. China has a so-called zero COVID-1984 policy, meaning that lockdowns are routinely imposed in communities when cases of the viruses are detected. In some cases, apartment buildings where at least one person is tested positive has been designated sealed areas where residents are forbidden from setting foot outside their homes, whether or not they have the virus. And even people are not even showing symptoms. It's just crazy. They do have videos. Earlier, I was able to watch it. Now I'm not, apparently. Let's try that again. Again, this is Chinese state-controlled TikTok here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there we go. It's working now. So here, these people are desperately pleading with these security guards on the outside, who are literally telling them, relax, the earthquake's already over. And they're just saying, let us out, let us out. Unbelievable. Again, we have to pay attention to these things because, like I said, often China is a blueprint for the West. In one video, a man swears at the security guard, rattling what appears to be his apartment gates, trying to open it up, shouting, hurry, hurry, open the door, it's an earthquake. And in response, the guard says, it's over, the earthquake's already over. Another video claims to be an audio recording of a loudspeaker. Check this out. Message that said, go back home. Do not gather here. It's just an earthquake. We in Sichuan have a lot of experience when it comes to earthquakes. That's what was playing on the loudspeakers. Go home. Don't worry. It's just an earthquake. One man told the BBC he had run out of his 30th-floor building after feeling the earthquake's tremors, and when he realized he was trapped, he raised complaints among the crowd that gathered at the gates, and he asked, which one's more important here, lockdowns or earthquakes? He said to his neighbors telling him, don't incite emotions and don't talk politics. So obviously things are, getting really bad. There have been no reports linking any fatalities from the quakes to the reactions on restrictions on compounds. But such reports have sparked overwhelming criticism from those on microblogging site Weibo. It's a joke that we have to discuss such a question, somebody said. Somebody else says, I guess it's fine if I die inside this building. At least I didn't get infected. Somebody sarcastically said. Just absolutely crazy that this is, a thing over there. All for what? The flu that has a 99% recovery rate? There's so many people today who are more concerned with dropping dead because of the couple of visor shots that they took than they are concerned about contracting COVID. That's for sure. I mean, let me know if you guys are seeing similar things. I'm gonna check the comments one more, guys, before we wrap it up, probably for the day. Rockefeller Run Hospital. Yeah, I got a really good video on that, St. Patrick. If you do a search on my website for Griffin, I did a great interview with him on the Rockefeller Foundation's connections to IG Farben and the Germans when they started launching this whole pharmaceutical industry back in the day. Really, really important interview. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. They are still locked down, says Brady. Yeah, exactly. They might be on for who knows how long now. You missed out on Bilderberg, Dan. I know. I wasn't able to hop on an airplane and leave the country at that time. I would have been there, obviously, covered every, so many Bilderbergs, starting in 2006, and every one of them consecutively since, I think, 2012, all the way up until, 2020, when they postponed it for a couple of years. But they did meet this year, but I wasn't able to go because I'm a prisoner in my own country. Yes, the Freemason thing isn't just, I'm not sure what else you were going to say there, but let's see if there's any other questions. Just a real quick recap as well. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that. I wanted to show you the Chinese earthquake. This is a good article. I do have all the sources in the description right now. You can go check it all out. Give this one a read throughout the whole thing. We brushed on it briefly here. Hiding behind national security will erode trust in Emergencies Act inquiries. Here, obviously, the Uvalde kids who are going back to school are, not going to go, and rightly so, even though they say they're beefing up everything. Why would that matter? I went and talked to my son, and I told him they're going to have more cops. They're going to have higher fencing. But he wasn't having it. He said it doesn't matter. They're not going to protect us. Uvalde made a big song and dance of hiring more cops and buying more security gear. But there were hundreds of cops standing around while a gunman killed 21 kids and teachers earlier this summer, and they had more weaponry and equipment than they knew to do with. The parents know it's all taxpayer looting theatrics. Their children know they're not safe. So what surprise is it that some of them are in no mood to play along? And no doubt. But as I said, if there is ever any good news coming out of the Catholic Church, I also, if you're just tuning in, was reading from this a little bit earlier, how there's like 1,700 Catholic schools in Australia who are saying that, feeling that your biological sex and gender identity is mismatched is a psychological condition, and that teachers should refrain from encouraging the use of puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or gender-affirming surgery. I mean, way to go, schools in Australia finally taking the bold stance against this transgender agenda. The Catholic body states such actions will cause unnecessary damage, such as possible infertility and the possibility for healthy human growth in new guidance documents obtained by the Australian. The document states that feelings of gender dysphoria is in fact a psychological condition that children will eventually grow out of, and suggests teachers use a biophysiosocial model when offering support. So, yeah, just, always nice to bring a little bit of good news to the day as well, guys. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to take one last look at these comments before we get going, and make sure I haven't missed any questions. Edgar says, a lady friend of mine has been to 15 funerals already since this started. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, sudden death syndrome is a thing, they say. Good work, Dan. Keep up the good fight, says St. Patrick. Thank you so much. I will check you out. Brighton, says DCAT. Do so. Check him out. Good YouTuber. Good channel. All right, I don't see too many other questions. A lot of nice comments, guys. Thank you so much for being loyal viewers and subscribers of mine over the years. I would full screen it right now, but I'm apparently not able to do that for some reason. So we'll just leave it here so we don't have that distracting video going on. But yeah, I'm going to call it for today, guys. Again, do check the links in the description to where you can find me at pressfortruth.ca/donate. If you guys do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, you know, I went live once earlier today, didn't quite work out, but we made it happen. We made it work. We brought you the news of the day. So thank you so much for tuning in and being here with me. It's always fun doing these, you know, live streams with you guys here so we can interact in real time. So yeah, maybe we'll go live again tomorrow. So stay tuned to the channel in the afternoon. And other than that, that's all for today, guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned. We'll be back with more very soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. Peace out, everybody.